Today we are doing an End of a New Beginning role-playing multiplayer game, which somehow appears to have kind of worked. We have 15 players in here. Let's see how this goes. Risorgimento. I apologize to any Italian who ever hears that. Italy has been divided for far long enough. Our nation will take up the task of unifying it under our banner. The Risorgimento shall commence. A number of events promoted Piedmont's prestige in Italy and abroad. In March of 1954, France and England intervened in support of the Ottoman Empire against Russia in the Crimean War. To obtain Austrian support, they were prepared to guarantee the status quo in Italy. Only Piedmont was in a position to disrupt it at the time, and Cavour negotiated an alliance with the Western powers. In May, he sent to Crimea an army that performed brilliantly. As a result, Piedmont was able to assume a place among the victors of the Congress of Paris in 1856. So the game starts right after the Crimean War. From his platform, Cavour, achieving a diplomatic coup for Piedmont and Italy, declared that the only threat to peace in Italy and the root cause of subversive plots was the burdensome Austrian overlordship. Cavour's pronouncements at the Congress increased the standing of Piedmont among the nationalists. Hello, Vittoria. The revolutions of 48. In 48, many revolutions struck Italy, notably having started at the autonomous city of Palermo in Sicily. Separatist movements promoting the separation of Sicily from Naples and adopting a more liberal government, the former of which was quickly suppressed by the king, but the latter was accepted, and Ferdinand II of Two Sicilies became the first of any to support a liberal constitution. Others quickly followed, including Leopold II of Tuscany, Charles Albert of Sardinia-Piedmont, our predecessor, and Pope Pius IX of the papacy. The Austrian government thought otherwise, as they did not yield to the pressure of the liberal reform on their Italian holdings. Instead, the garrisons had reinforced the border of Lombardy, Venetia, and had opposition leaders arrested in Venice and Milan. Only a few days later, a sudden wave of revolutionary insurgents swept across the Austrian Empire, while Venetian and Milanese insurgents moved to depose their Austrian overlords. Within only a few days, the Austrian army retreated, and nearly all of Lombardy, Venetia over here, was in control of the revolutionaries. It took a matter of months for the Austrian Empire to retake control of the state from the rebels and left a scar that will cripple the empire for years to come. Calamitous discord had switched swaths across European soil, and the Austrian Empire suffered the worst in its Italian land of Lombardy and Venetia. More importantly, King Charles Albert had conceded to the liberals who aimed to establish a constitutional monarchy. Following the transition, he would go on to march his army into Austrian territories to support the rebels in Venice and Milan. His army was joined by soldiers from the then liberalized governments of Duke Leopold II in Tuscany, King Ferdinand of the Two Sicilies, and volunteers from Sicily and the Papal States. Despite some success in the dawn of his campaign, King Charles's army would later be defeated at the Battle of Custazza, forcing a humiliating armistice until peace negotiations could be made. Holy shit. The defeat saw all the liberal governments but Sardinia-Piedmont crumble to the Austrian demand for the renouncement of the constitutions. The Kingdom of Piedmont Sardinia stands as the last independent Italian state, still refusing to succumb to Habsburg influence. The southern King of Two Sicilies has married into the Habsburg Empire. Venetia has been given to the Austrians after the Congress of Vienna, and the smaller states are under Austrian protection. Our people support a strong and powerful government centered around our king, who vows to fulfill the dreams of a united Italy. As we stand as a barrier between Austrians and French spheres, if we play our cards right, perhaps we can topple the Austrian Tower of Cards. Our time has come. So we're in a very precarious position. Most of Italy is under the control of Austria, which is of course a player, and Austria obviously wants to control the Italian holdings. We are looking to establish Italy, essentially. It was the current King Victor Emmanuele II who did found Italy. So if our focus tree goes well and we don't get fucked by players, we will be able to unite Italy, but it's not easy. Camillo Benso de Cavour. Genevieve by birth, his mother brought into the Cavour family the influence of Geneva, a city open to all the political, religious, and social movements of the period. The French Revolution imperiled the possession of the Cavours because of their close ties with ancient regime, but Camillo's father re-established the family as an eminent position in Napoleonic society. As a younger son who could not hope for the economic and social position that would fall to his elder brother, Camillo saw a brilliant career open up before him under the protection of the court of Charles Albert, Prince of Savoy. His lack of enthusiasm for the court position and his open ridicule of the page boy's uniform he was obliged to wear created controversy and confirmed the growing suspicions of rebellious intent in the young Camillo. He was influenced by the liberal ideas of the French writers Benjamin Constant and Francois Guizot, I'm saying that wrong, and his adversaries remained those of his childhood: paternalistic absolutism, legitimist reactionaries representing the landed interests, the aristocracy, and the clergy, and the union of throne and altar. His father got him appointed mayor of a village south of Turin. Social interests began to absorb him. The problems of poverty and prisoner education, became the subject of his research. This dude is fucking interesting. In 1834, he wrote a memoir on poverty in Piedmont, which was published the following year in London in the Report to His Majesty's Commissars for the Inquiring, the Administration, Practical Operation of the Poor Laws. A second pamphlet on the history of the poor laws in England was edited and published by Cavour in 1835 in Turin. His transition into politics was completed when King Charles Albert decided to embark on measures to reform and to concede a certain amount of freedom to the press. This prompted Cavour to offer his services as a volunteer until, on being elected a deputy in the Third Legislative, he began to fight for the approval of a peace treaty with Austria, although the extremists of the left wanted to continue a war that was, in effect, already lost. In October of 1850, he was offered the post of Minister of Agriculture and soon became the most active and influential member of the cabinet. The European drama into which Cavour was drawn against his will began in 1854 with the Crimean War. After the combined efforts of France, Great Britain, and Piedmont to secure prosperity of the Ottoman Empire against the encroaching Russian Empire, Cavour advocates a complete anti-Austrian movement across the Piedmontese lands to fulfill the Risorgimento and the United Italian lands, a promise he is willing to keep. Wow, this guy's fucking interesting. He's a social reformer. Hello there, Your Majesty.
Oh, what brings you in Paris?
I am Camillo Benzo di Cavour, the leader of Sardinia-Piedmont. I am here to speak with you about the existential threat posed to my lands and those of my brothers in the peninsula from the Austrian Empire.
I'm listening.
I know that you are not a fan of the Austrians. Their influence in the kingdom of Lombardy, Venetia, as well as the puppet states that they now control in Italy, is an existential threat to both the French and the Sardinians. We both know that Ferdinand II is nothing more than a puppet of the Austrians, and if they have their way, all of this peninsula will be turned into a part of their empire. I know, Napoleon, that you are a reasonable man, and a man who understands the threat the Austrians have on Europe as it has been for centuries. I hope that we can work together in order to push them out of Lombardy and the other regions, working together in exchange for, obviously, very close relations between our peoples and perhaps some minor territorial concessions.
This seems a really interesting offer and a good way to stop the Austrians for getting more power. And I'll talk with my with the assembly.
Of course. You will have to talk to your parliament. I'm sure your wife, I know that she is a great woman and who you seek her counsel. My own wife I speak with about all things, Your Majesty. So take your time, and when you have a decision, send me a telegraph in Torino, and I will return to Paris to discuss this at length.
Then I shall think about it and see you maybe later.
Thank you, Your Majesty. You as well. Prime Minister and Count of Cavour Camillo Benzo has big plans for the future of Sardinia-Piedmont. A staunch supporter of the unification movement, Benzo has avoided relying on radical sentiments of the 1848 revolutions and rather pulls on the strength of Sardinia-Piedmont combined with nationalist movements in order to organize a Sardinia-led unification. They give us a political stability, which you'll recognize from EU4. This mod is basically incorporated elements from Victoria 2, EU4, and obviously Hearts of Iron. Italian National Society. The Italian National Society is an organization originally established to promote and spread nationalism to political moderates in Piedmont. Since its foundation, it's raised a large sum of funds through a multitude of fundraisers, planned events, and won over the support of a multitude of middle class. The National Society has begun a wildly popular propaganda campaign in advocacy for unification of Piedmont and Lombardy, and even as far as the expulsion of the Austrian influence from Italy. All right, spearheading the Risorgimento. While nationalism destroys empires, it also builds nations. Italy will be one of the countries to form from the territory of crumbling empires. Between 1815 and 1848, fewer and fewer Italians have been content to live under foreign rulers. Public outrage over foreign monopolies, standard of living, we're running at speed 4, Jesus Christ, and political divide has reached an all-time high. Most Italian nationalists look for leadership from the Kingdom of Sardinia-Piedmont, the most powerful and politically connected of the states, as well as the only Italian nation with the Italian native royalty. Sardinia has surged from the ashes of its attempt at unification and regained its respect in the Crimean War to the majority within the Sardinian middle class. Sardinia-Piedmont holds the future of Italy in its hands. Cavour has approved Sardinian agents to measure the activities of the Italian nationalist movements throughout the peninsula and assist them wherever possible. The hope being that these movements would eventually support us to the leaders of the unification movement in Italy. Wonderful. Perfect Fusion. In 1947, a segment of Sardinian elites from Cagliari and Sassari, led by the unionist Giovanni Ciodo Pintor, demanded the so-called Perfect Fusion, making it so that Sardinia would get the liberal reforms that were not available for the island because of its separate legal system. A new legal system entered into force in Sardinia, and the last viceroy, Claudio Gabriele di Lonne, left Cagliari on 48. The island was divided into 3 provinces ruled by their prefects, following the system already used in Piedmont since 1815. Sardinia in question. Sardinians lost their former powers of taxation and autonomous representation in exchange for the Piedmontese parliament taking over legislative responsibility on the island, and some seats in Congress following the so-called Perfect Fusion. While the centralization allowed for the stabilization of economic growth, improved national coherency, and eased difficulty of passing new legislations, it also left Sardinia being an even less significant overseas department of the Savoyard domains, angering many native Sardinian intellectuals. If left unchecked, tensions between Sardinia and the mainland could develop. Oh boy, all right. After getting our support in the Crimean War, many European nations view favorably upon our nation, especially in our struggle against the Austrians and the greater unification. Cavour has announced that diplomatic channels will be utilized to negotiate and create deals with the major European nations who might support our goals. Alright, we have to go do some more roleplay, but I want to read through all these things. There's so much in this fucking mod. Piedmontese militarism. The chauvinistic militarism of Piedmont, Sardinia has inspired fear and respect among other European states and peoples, showing its ferocious efficiency at the Battle of Chernoya during the Crimean War. The Piedmontese forces are held among the highest regard in both equality and skill among their contemporaries. Dependency on the artisan industry. Sardinia is, on paper, the most industrialized and economically fit nation of the Italian peninsula. And while this is partially true, the existing industry is primarily artisan-based, producing consumer products such as clothing, food, processed foods, and other vanities. This limits the production capacity of state necessities such as the production of arms, rations, and military equipment. We're also having a baby boom, nice, and a minor economic boom. All right, so we're social liberals. We're a constitutional monarchy, but Camilo Cavour is a social liberalizer. So we're probably going to want to do some of these. Sardinia-Piedmont, the up-and-coming kingdom in Italy, was until recently a lesser nation with little to no diplomatic power. Known only for its failure to defeat the Austrians in the past, the entrance and performance of Sardinia into the Crimean War changed this completely. Now that Sardinians hope to undertake new steps towards unification, they have been insistent that Europe not forget their actions in this war. Hello there!
Greetings, sir.
Lord Palmerston, this is Camilo Cavour, representing His Majesty Victor Emmanuel II's government from Torino.
And welcome to you, sir. And what can Her Majesty's Empire do for you today, sir?
Thank you very much. As we know, we are very thankful for the United Kingdom for floating our economy with their loans and for working together to beat back the Russians in the Crimean War. As you know, the Austrian Empire has encroached heavily upon the Italian peninsula for quite some time, and the failed revolutions of the past couple decades have been unsuccessful. It is the position of His Majesty's government that we must ensure that the Austrians are pushed out of Lombardy, Venetia, and that a greater Italian nation is unified. Obviously, as the only truly Italian monarchy, Victor Emmanuel is in a special place to do this. I had hoped to approach His Majesty's government in London and speak with you about the possibility of getting British backing for the unification of Italy and the pushing out of the Austrians, who I know you hold no special place in your heart for.
We wish not to be involved in any further conflicts in the mainland of Europe, you know, since we, I believe this would be the second or third time we will have bailed out the continent again.
Sir, I would like to say that we do not wish a war here. We are seeking to get diplomatic backing from the major powers of Europe in order to have a diplomatic solution to this issue. I suspect if Austria has some pressure put upon it, we will be able to solve this without the need for bloodshed.
And that is something we can both agree to, sir. The loss of blood is an awful thing that, we wish not to spill any more English blood on the, mainland continent. The French took way too much of that than what it was worth in the end.
Indeed. We are in agreement. We do not wish to cause more death and destruction in Italy for our brothers and sisters. We seek only to push out the Austrians diplomatically. And I hope that Her Majesty's government, or His Majesty's government, I apologize, will back us in this matter.
That we will, sir. That we will.
Wonderful. And in that case, I hope that we will soon have the backing of several major powers and can have a conference with the Austrians in order to discuss this in diplomatic manner, in order to have a peaceful, non-violent unification of the Italian peninsula under His Majesty. I thank you for your cooperation, Lord Palmerston. While Sardinia may not be the most wealthy, we have the credentials of standing internationally to find investors for a modernization of our economy. By relying on our own treasury, the rich release of Sardinia, and both foreign investors and loans that can possess enough funds to begin a modernization of our economy. We will begin this process by moving away from the traditional agrarian orientation of our national economy. So we no longer are an agrarian society, which is here. We were an agrarian society, we're now industrializing, so we can do our industrial researches, which we will switch over to right now. As you have seen, if and the French people are more hesitant to join in our cause, but deploying the third has not been deterred. In order to gain them as our ally, we will need to prepare to make some more concessions to them politically. A meeting will take place in Plombiers between Cavour and deploying the third to discuss a plan for war against Austria and the future of the Italian peninsula. Let's go make that meeting happen.
Yes, hello?
Your Majesty, I'm very glad to hear that you survived that assassination attempt. That is a very nasty business. It is a tragedy. These goddamn rapscallions are everywhere. They do not wish our monarchies to remain strong.
Thinking about Italy, yes.
I have a specific offer for you.
Sorry.
We would be willing to offer you the Savoy region, which I know France has desired for quite some time. If you were to help us push out the Austrians in Italy and unify the peninsula, we would give you the Savoy region of Italy to France.
Seems like an incredible deal. I think this is not no matter to refuse.
Wonderful. It will strengthen the French nation and will allow for the unification of Italy.
I should go back to Paris and I hope...
Thank you, Your Majesty. We will speak soon. Sorry, 1 second. It's very loud German music playing. Hello there. Is this Otto Manteuffel of Prussia?
Yes! This is Otto Theodor von Manteuffel from Prussia. Yes.
Wonderful. You are speaking with Camilo Cavour. I've traveled here from Berlin representing His Majesty Victor Emmanuele II's government in Sardinia-Piedmont. How are you today, sir?
I'm quite good. However, the French had the insolence to say that Alsace-Lorraine does not contain any German-speaking people.
I am not here to discuss the French. I am here to discuss your old and new enemy, the Austrians, who I know you hold no great respect for.
We do not,
Indeed.
sir. We do absolutely not.
They encroach upon your power and sovereignty over the Germanic states, do they not?
They do.
Indeed.
I spoke with them recently. They said that they do not want to see a German reunification.
Of course they don't. They wish to control all of Germany and Italy. Sir, we have much in common. I know you wish to unify the Northern German Confederation, and we seek to unify the Italian peninsula and push out the Austrian influence here, which has been for generations. I was hoping that perhaps we could have the backing of each other to work together in order to stop the Austrians from getting influence over regions that they have no right to be in.
Of course, of course. That will be mostly appreciated. We are seeking of allies.
Chancellor,
Of
I
course.
hope you understand and agree with this.
I do understand and agree, and we should work together. I agree fully with this.
Wonderful. In that case, I propose Sardinian and soon Italian backing of Prussia's unification in northern Germany in exchange for Prussian backing of Italian unification in the peninsula and the pushing out of the Austrians. Is this reasonable?
This is more than reasonable.
Wonderful.
Of course we can. I'm glad you came here.
Wonderful.
To Berlin.
You as well, Chancellor. I will head to St. Petersburg, and I hope to see your backing in regards to the Italian question. Thank you for your time.
You will. Thank you for your time. Have a good trip.
You as well.
Greetings. This
Hello.
is the Interior Minister of
Minister Bach.
Habsburg Monarchy.
Welcome to Torino. Take a seat.
Thank you.
Well, I just got back from a long trip. What can I do for you? Would you like some brandy? I got some from the British. It's very good. I don't know if you drink, Minister.
Yes. One. Give me one.
Of course. Let me pour you one. There you go. What can I do for you?
Cheers.
Cheers.
We are not blind. We have noticed your open statements.
Of
We have
course.
noticed you traveled to France to to Russia, to the United Kingdom, and so on and so on.
And you know why that is, Minister. I will not lie. You know what we seek.
We suspect the reason for this.
I have gotten the backing of many nations for this issue. Minister, I must ask, I know we have had a lot of tension in the past. The Empire's attempts to dominate the Italian peninsula are understandable. You are a great empire. You seek power. I understand that. But you must understand that the Italian people cry out for unification. The people in Lombardy and Venetia, they do not wish to be under the control of the Austrians. We are seeking, as I'm sure you have heard from your informants throughout the many palaces of Europe, a diplomatic solution to this issue. I do not wish to drag nations into a war of you or fight Austria. That's not what we desire here. But His Majesty's government stands firm in their desire to have a unified Italy.
We respect this decision, and we believe that the kingdom of Lombardia Venetia is in fact the righteous heir to an Italian state. In fact, we believe that the very idea of one claiming to be the claimant of millions of people is very questionable when there are indeed more legitimate successors. On top
More
of
legitimate,
that,
such as...
in integration of Italy would mean the partial destruction of the papal states, and we as devout Christians cannot stand by that. I am mostly just confused by the goals of your campaign. Is it the unification of all Italians?
It
is
is.
it the unification of the Italian states? If so,
From Piedmont to
response
Venetia,
that you
all
can
the way to
expect
Sicily.
will vary.
Except for Corsica, which is of course French.
But what about the Italians in Ticino? What about the Italians in Tyrol? What about the Italians in Dalmatia? If we include all those, then this
We
is
do not. The
unacceptable.
Austrian
It's
territories that
threatening
you
our
control,
state.
we
This
will
is
not...
threatening our state.
Minister, let me speak, please. We acknowledge Austrians' claims over Trient, Südtirol, and Tyrol. The only regions that we will seek to be unified, that you have concrete influence over and not soft power over, is Lombardy Venetia, which, as you know, is historical, truly historical Italian territory. The regions that you hold in your own state, we will not contest. That I promise you. I'm sure you know enough about me to know I'm not a liar, and I stand behind the words I say.
We appreciate those words of assurance. I will have to discuss this with my higher-ups.
Of course, this is a major policy shift for Austria and a major change for all of Europe. Before you leave, Minister, let me just say, we are taking the actions, the diplomatic moves, and the preparations in order for this situation to happen. But understand this, I hold no great ill will against your empire. I seek only the unification of Italy. After that is done, I am willing to wipe the board with the relations between Sardinia, Italy, and Austria. There is no reason that we cannot cooperate and, in fact, build very good relations after this unification. However, if you do stand in our way, our resolute is strong, and we will stand behind our beliefs, Minister. So, I wish you a safe trip back to Vienna, and I hope, God willing, that you will choose the right path.
Yes, I will just telegram that real quick.
It's a very quiet telegraph you have there. I'll have to get my hands on one of those. Mine's much louder.
Yes. This is the newest one, developed from the smartest engineers in Vienna. Thank you.
I mean, Vienna does create all manner of marvels. Of course, Minister, I look forward to speaking with you in the future.
So do I.
Ever since the Congress of Vienna in 1850, Monaco has been designated as a protectorate of Sardinia-Piedmont. Their position in this arrangement has always been more beneficial to us than them. Ever since the revolutions of '48, much of Monaco has been in rebellion in favor of united with our nation, and eventually the new Italian nation. The future of Monaco is unsure. As we move forward, it may be likely that Monaco would be ceded with Nice and Savoy, and we seek an alliance with the French. Though it might be possible to use the Congress of Vienna and the rebellions of Monaco as justification to integrate them into our nation, or at the very least keep the status quo as the protectorate. We're going to try and incorporate them. We're going to court. We'll encourage rebels and we'll decrease autonomy. Hello, who is this?
Oh, this is Napoleon III.
Oh, Your Majesty, welcome to Torino. What can I do for you?
Yes, I wanted to talk about the Italian unification you were planning.
Of course.
May
Fuck! What? Hold on, Your Majesty, I apologize. The negotiations with the Monacoans did not go well. They are rebelling.
My god, I cannot even see Monaco, this sports.
I know, it's so hard to see. Fuck! Now, we were negotiating with Charles III in Monaco as to annexation, and it appears that he was not a fan of that proposal. Anyway, I apologize. We can speak. My general is underway. Garibaldi's on his way.
I think Monaco is not a great enemy. My god. Dude, it's not the base for RP. But yes, I wanted to know how the unification is going to proceed.
We are in talks with the Vienna government, and we are hopeful that they will choose a diplomatic solution. We've made it clear that we will not obviously infringe upon any of their territories, but with the Lombardy, Venetia, and their propped-up governments throughout Italy must be conceded in Italian unification. The minister, Alexander Bach, is currently in discussions with the cabinet in Vienna and His Majesty the government, and I am hopeful that we will have a diplomatic solution to this crisis. Beyond that, we have secured the support of the Spanish, the United Kingdom, the Prussians, and the Russians, as well as yourself, in order to have a diplomatic solution here.
You mean, as we are on the border with you, the French are offering great support to the Italians.
And we are very thankful.
For unification.
Even if a diplomatic solution is done, we stand by our word to transfer you Savoy for your support diplomatically and, if necessary, militarily. So the negotiations with Charles III for the annexation of Monaco was refused, and as such, we have been forced to occupy Munigu and the Monacoan nation. Let's hope that it doesn't bug here. Wonderful. They have capitulated. Wonderful. All right, Monaco has been annexed forcefully, unfortunately, but it had to happen. Their king did not believe in the future of Italy, and he had to be dealt with.